Growing up in Northern California, we've had our fair share of serial killers who have tromped around leaving their mark. The Golden State Killer, the Night Stalker, and probably most famously of all, because it remains unsolved, Zodiac. Netflix released their documentary, This is Zodiac Speaking, recently, but does it contain any info that we've not heard before? Shocking new revelations point to Arthur Leigh Allen as the Zodiac Killer, and at the heart of the revelations is an unlikely family whose increasingly chilling relationship with Allen promises to connect him to the infamous murders. So while this documentary does cover some information that we've probably all heard before, it serves as background and building block information for what else is going to be revealed. Now, central to this 3-episode series is an interview with the Seawater children. They're a family who had a ton of interaction over decades with Zodiac suspect Arthur Leigh Allen. Now, their accounts, when coupled with interviews from Robert Graysmith, who wrote the book that David Fincher used as basis for his film Zodiac, along with law enforcement, detectives, reporters, and a host of others who either had connections to or information on Allen, these helped to build a convincing take that Allen really was Zodiac. We get many recreations throughout this, but they're not cheesy or cringy. They simply work to illustrate what the interviewees were recounting. And also, interspersed throughout the docuseries is footage from Fincher's film, typically to provide reference for a person involved in the case or to show the accuracy of a lot of that particular storytelling. But what's predominantly used are family photos and home movies that are provided by the Seawaters to help give credence to their suspicions, because Allen was an integral part of their lives, a trusted friend and adult, which then makes the information that comes to light at the end of episode 2 and all through episode 3 even more shocking. Now, normally docuseries are stretched out if they go beyond 2 episodes, but for this, the filmmakers pack in a ton of information, even if it's speculative just based on family testimony. And this makes the series riveting rather than dragging. The total time for the series, it's less than 3 hours, and thanks to both the discoveries and excellent editing, the story unfolds in a captivating way, at least if you're into true crime. Now, I was impressed by the openness of the Seawater family to talk about all they experienced. There's inherent shame or even betrayal that comes with what they find out. And the kids, who are now in their 50s to 70s, spend a great deal of time traveling with Allen, spending holidays with him, even being watched by him over weekend getaways. Now, some of what's told did make me raise my eyebrows because some of the accounts, they really should have made the family take a pause. But I can also understand how they could brush off an action as maybe innocent, even if it's a twisted take. And then we get to see the transition of emotions that the family displays as they move through the timeline. It starts with fond memories of Allen, singing his praises, just all the things that he did for the family. And then very slowly, we see small pieces begin to fall into place that start off as suspicions, many of which are even dismissed by most of the kids, to then receiving more concrete and believable information. There's a level of devastation the now adults experience as they begin to come to terms with things that happened to them, or maybe places that they were taken that coincide with Zodiac movements. And that emotion, it translated well through the screen. Now, probably the most frustrating part of this docuseries is that we learn of some potential DNA evidence. But at the time the production was finished, law enforcement agencies from San Francisco, Vallejo, and San Jose were still waiting on results. Now, this could have the potential for something definitive in the case, but perhaps in the rush to be first with all of the new revelations and interviews, the streamer wanted to be just first rather than wholly complete. Now, I'd still love more depth on the ciphers that Zodiac sent. I find these incredibly intriguing, and I have serious questions and doubts about that old couple who supposedly cracked the very first cipher. When looking at their results, it appeared they made things fit rather than actually working out a consistent and believable key. The documentary does slightly delve into how one of the ciphers was finally decoded by a supercomputer. But because this element of the case is one of the most enigmatic, I think a larger emphasis could have been placed on this area, even if we still haven't figured them all out. I think it makes it even more mysterious, or at least aggravating, is that Allen, he was not the best speller or even good at grammar. So the ciphers maybe take even longer because he just could have spelled something incorrectly. But we'll never know, and that then makes the key nearly impossible to determine. This was seriously an easy binge. There are portions that are repetitive, not just through imagery, but also with parts of interviews and recounting of information. And it's not so much that all of the time equals an episode, but since most of us are going to watch this all in one sitting, the repeated pieces, they do stand out as unnecessary. Even then, though, Each of the episodes, they're less than an hour, so the time flies by, especially thanks to how engaging the accounts are presented. So despite some answers still left hanging when it concludes, This is Zodiac Speaking is a riveting examination of the infamous killer using credible and believable interviews from people who had long-term, in-depth interactions with the main suspect, Arthur Leigh Allen. There are some repetitive storytelling elements at work, but thanks to compelling accounts and home movies and photos, the evidence is laid out methodically, providing a large level of certainty to the Seawater family's belief that Allen was indeed Zodiac. The content is both distressing and captivating, and taps into the morbid curiosity that makes this case so fascinating. There's no sex, some very brief nudity, some profanity, and then imagery and descriptions of horrific violence. Now, as a reminder, I don't give couch ratings to documentaries, but if you are into true crime or you just like documentaries, I highly recommend checking out This is Zodiac Speaking on Netflix. The new info here, it is eye-opening. So are there any true crime cases that you'd like to see delved into, as long as there's new information? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.